These four crypto companies will survive the recession and this crypto collapse, and I'm going to share with you why I believe that.
I ain't gonna give in now, I just gotta live this now. I'm gonna be man, I'ma kill this stuff real quick. I'ma go take it to town, cause I gotta be that king in their ring when I'm knocking them out when I'm back with the whip. Cause I am just up on the journey, just know that I'm just going insane.
Warriors, rise. Grand rising. Good evening, warriors all over the world. If you haven't watched yesterday's YouTube video, make sure you check it out right here. I broke down BlackRock, Vanguard, Circle, and Ripple and how powerful they are. Now, I believe there's four crypto companies that are going to survive this. Crypto companies. We have to be very clear on the difference between a cryptocurrency and the company. That's what the SEC versus Ripple case is all about. I'm here to make the complex simple for you, okay? The company is Ripple. The cryptocurrency is Xrp. What the SEC is saying is that we own a security, just like the stock market. If I own stock in Apple, I own shares in Apple. They're saying because I own XRP that I have a securities contract with Ripple. I don't own part of Ripple. I own XRP, which is a bridge currency. The SEC is saying that I hold a security. So that's what the case is all about. But I want to give you a different perspective, right? Because what people often do is when the SEC sues somebody, they run from those companies. But it's interesting. But they'll put their money into FTX, they'll put their money into Celsius. The SEC is not going after those companies and did not go after those companies and met with those companies, but they're the ones that collapsed. So let's do this. As we look this way, let's turn our head and look this way. And think about this. Some of the largest companies in the world that run your infrastructure and run your world were sued by the SEC. So maybe it's the opposite. Just like I've been doing everything since I left the banking system. Everything I do is opposite of the banking system. So I'm going to break down Coinbase. I'm going to break down Circle, Kraken, and Ripple. These are all companies that I believe will survive this crypto collapse and regulation. So first, we're going to talk about Coinbase. Coinbase, remember, is connected to BlackRock through Aladdin. Coinbase is a dominant force in the banking system, and they're deeply interconnected, in my opinion, into the banking system in the future. I predict that Coinbase, you'll be able to have a routing and checking number. You're going to have a bank account there, and they're going to be a crypto custody as well. I believe eventually they'll have their master account with the central bank, and you'll be able to transact just like a normal bank. I believe Ripple will be a bank. I believe Circle will be a bank. Okay. And Kraken already is a bank. I just want to put that out there so we can come back to this video and hopefully this will age well. So we're going to jump around. The dates are not going to make sense because this isn't chronological order, but I'm going to hopefully help you see a trend here. So Coinbase on July 21st, 2022 sent a letter to the SEC, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission. It says Coinbase Global is filing a petition with the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission requesting the commission propose and adopt rules to govern the regulation of securities that are offered and traded via digital native methods, including the potential rules to identify which digital assets are securities. So they're approaching the SEC. Come on, help us out, just like Ripple did. Ripple was approaching the SEC, asking them, is this a security? Are we doing anything wrong? But the SEC always does this. They come after the companies that are trying to work with them. Or are they coming after the companies that are going to change the infrastructure and have the most disruptive technologies so they slow down the game to flood out the public of these new innovative technologies? The SEC has told us that it wants to sue us over lending, okay? We don't know why. Last Wednesday, this is all the dates don't make sense in regards to this. Isn't chronological order. This is just giving you an aspect of problem, reaction, solution. Okay. Last Wednesday, after months of efforts by Coinbase to engage proactively, which is the key of the story, the SEC tells us it's called Wells Notice about planned Coinbase lending program. It basically Wells was going to launch, or excuse me, Wells. That's a hint of custody in the future. Coinbase lend program is going to come out, and they sent them a Wells notice saying, no, you are not going to do a lending program. So they sent them a Wells notice. So we proactively been communicating with the SEC, and all of a sudden they send us a Wells notice. Or is it all part of the game? Okay. At the same time, Coinbase allows you to do direct deposit. Okay. You can direct deposit your paycheck, your entire paycheck, into Coinbase, operating just like a bank. So eventually, that paycheck you deposit, you'll eventually be able to transact and have a regular checking account there. We can transact normally. Okay. So we know Coinbase was tapped by the SEC saying, nope, nope. We're going to come after you. We're going to sue you, as they proactively communicated with the SEC. But Gary Gensler met with FTX, right? 6 months before its collapse. Well, we know the reason why I bring up Coinbase is Brian Brooks, the head legal counsel of Coinbase in January 2020, left Coinbase to go operate the OCC, the Operation of Currency Control. And during that time, they allowed banks, charters, and thrifts to custody cryptocurrency. Okay. So the OCC crypto custody letter was years in the making. So Brian Brooks left the head legal counsel of Coinbase, right? So he leaves Coinbase, goes over to the OCC, and he allows federally chartered thrifts to custody cryptocurrency. Ripple, Ripple's global public policy. Ripple works with financial institutions and regulators, central banks around the world to develop regulatory framework for crypto and blockchain. Learn more about how we approach blockchain public policy, issuing the impact of cryptocurrency in the global economy. They are proactive, just like Coinbase, proactive. Okay, they proactively reached out to the SEC. So did Ripple. Proactively reaching out to the SEC, proactively communicating with regulators, and Brad Garlinghouse is proactively sitting at World Economic Forum next to regulators, but they're the ones being sued. Is this all part of their system? Okay. Talks about here a Rep McHenry, a House agriculture, agriculture committed ranked member. Thomas said, noted in a letter to the SEC, Gary Gensler, and the CFTC acting chair, Rostin Benman, the SEC and CFTC have existing authority to establish a working group tasked with exploring how to effectively use current jurisdictions cooperatively. This work could provide Congress with additional information and clarity to protect against regulatory overreach and ensure proper market oversight and mechanisms in place without being too constrictive. A collaborative forum that brings regulators and industry stakeholders together to build rational, holistic framework for cryptocurrencies and blockchain together would represent a step forward towards achieving regulatory clarity. So a proactive company once again, is being sued by the SEC. Okay, this is that proactive letter that was sent to the CFTC and the SEC. So we have Coinbase, gets a Wells notice from the SEC, proactively communicating with them. Ripple, proactively communicating with the SEC, gets sued. Jay Caitlin initiates a case for Xrparmy being traded as a security when Bill Hinman gave Ethereum a pass. Okay, so during this time, not during the time, there is no sequential order to this, but we know SEC charged Ripple two executives with conducting $1.3 billion in unregistered securities offerings. That was in 2020. We're now in 2023. And who knows how long this is going to go on. If it goes till the end of 2020, that'll be 3 years. 3 years. What does that tell you, fam? It tells you that this is all about working with the most well-run companies to bring in regulation. Okay. So we talked about Coinbase. I believe they're going to be here after all this collapse. Okay. We talked about Ripple. Well, let's dive into Circle. Circle, now remember, Coinbase or Ripple and Circle were one of the two companies left at the World Economic Forum, and Brad Garlinghouse is sitting there with regulators, the only one invited to a panel with regulators. You have to think about that for just a moment. Brad Garlinghouse has said they're going to IPO after the case is settled, and he's one of the few people at World Economic Forum. After all the chaos happens in 2022, they're invited back. They're also partners of the World Economic Forum. So is Larry Fink, who sits on the board of trustees. Circle is a big player in the cryptocurrency space, and I believe it's going to be here after all the dust settles. Circle is the latest crypto company to be sued over digital trading patents. Okay. The SEC is coming after all these companies that are going to be here, which is interesting. But they didn't go after FTX. They didn't go after Celsius. So just something to think about. The SEC has accused them of misleading investors about demand for the tokens, manipulating prices. They settled the case without admitting or denying the charges. Okay. They sent a letter to the SEC. Dear Gary Gensler, or Chairman Gensler, excuse me, my apologies, Your Honor. The CFA respectfully requests the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission review significant disclosures and other deficiencies in the proposed special purposes acquisition company, the SPAC, traditions between Concord Acquisition Group and Circle. The SEC has raised concerns about the numerous aspects of SPAC transactions, including misleading statements, insufficient due diligence, inadequate disclosures, and possible conflicts of interest. These companies are proactively reaching out to the SEC, Okay. Then the last one I believe is going to be here, which is Kraken, because Kraken won their bank charter approval. This was back in 2020. Remember, Brian Brooks left the head legal counsel of Coinbase to go allow federally chartered thrifts and banks to custody your crypto. And then Kraken at the same time in 2020 became the first chartered bank approval. They are a bank. They're a chartered bank. I'm on their waiting list to figure out when they open up banks. And I will be running I will have a bank account there. I will. Absolutely will. It's so annoying trying to operate large amounts of money through these exchanges when the banks don't cooperate. So when Kraken comes on board, I will definitely have one of my accounts set up in Kraken. Okay. This is the SEC.gov. Came after Kraken, offering sale of crypto asset staking as a service program. Program pays $30 million to settle the SEC charges. Do you see where I'm going with this? The greatest companies in the world were all sued by the SEC, and they became the wealthiest, largest companies in the world. People became multimillionaires and billionaires off of some of these companies that were sued by the SEC. Tesla, Amazon, some of the greatest companies in the world were sued by the SEC. So as you look this way, there's another narrative going on this way. If you understand true intrinsic value, reading the book Intelligent Investor, you would understand that these are all companies that are going to be here for a long time. There's true balance sheets. There's real leadership teams that you can investigate and take a look at. There's real marketing teams. There's real companies investing in this. I think Circle is already public. Ripple is going to go public. Is Kraken public? If not, they're probably going to go. All these companies will go public. Okay. They'll be on the stock exchange. Ripple is going to go IPO. We know that. Okay. You can click link down below and get into Ripple pre-IPO with link 2. So I just want to share this information here. Yesterday's video, if you didn't go watch it, go watch yesterday's video. I dive into Gary Gensler meeting with Vanguard, which 100 million of his portfolio is sitting with Vanguard, but he won't meet with the XRP holders, won't meet with John Deaton. He won't meet with certain news stations unless, they have the questions all written out. So is the SEC truly here to protect you? Probably not. But is anybody here to protect you other than yourself? There is no invisible enemy. There's no reason to go against anybody. This is all out there for you. The key is to not get flooded in and out of these markets with I was going to say uneducated people. What I was going to say is, because we're all doing the best we can with the limited, I don't want to disrespect anybody. You're making decisions based on get rich quick. Let's just put it that way. But who made the most money in the gold rush? The people who sold the shovels and the infrastructure, not the people hunting for gold. We'll just leave it at that. Warriors, rise, get your shit together. Let's go.